The Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist, whether you're running, swimming, or sleeping. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. The Apple Watch Series 10, available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generations, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
This is the Dragon's Lair, in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of sports fans in Newport. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. Gav, how are we?
I'm well. I don't know what the weather's like up in Newport, Jamie, but Sussex appears to be going through a second ice age, and spending 3 hours in shorts this morning coaching was not the best idea I've had today.
No, it's very cold and miserable down here. And I had to watch the Dragons this afternoon. Yeah, so we'll talk about that a bit later. Let's start off with some news, and some big news came out of the club last week. So Leon Brown, who we quite like on this pod, don't we? Yeah. Leon Brown has sadly announced his retirement from professional rugby with immediate effect after suffering with persistent neck issues. So the tight head prop made his Dragons debut against Leicester Tigers back in November 2016, and he went on to make a total of 74 appearances and scored 5 tries. He went on to win 24 caps for Wales. His most recent appearance was against Scotland in last year's Six Nations. And Brown's last appearance for the Dragons, can you remember when his last appearance for the Dragons was, Gav?
It wasn't that long ago, was it? Well, it was before the Newcastle game. I'm going backwards. Was it against Sharks?
It was against Benetton in October. Yes, but now he has made the decision to hang up his boots through injury. Sad news for both Leon, the Dragons, Welsh Rugby as well. But it's not entirely unexpected, Gav, is it, given Leon's injury battles throughout the years? This is sad, but it's also we saw this coming, didn't we?
Well, I did call it, if you remember, when we were talking about after the last injury. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he retires.
You're right. You did say that, yeah.
Yeah, I think the man's. If you could be unlucky with injury, and you can have a wrist, a rib, a knee, an ankle, and it all mounts up. But the different injuries, but it was always his neck and his shoulder.
Yeah.
Which suggested to me there was a kind of a weakness there. And when you like that, when that's happening, it was the same with, oh God, why can't I think of his name? The centre who retired.
Which centre?
Our centre who retired recently.
Oh, you mean Jack Dixon?
Jack Dixon, yes, sorry. His injuries, knee related, Leon's shoulder related. If it's the same injury over and over again, it doesn't get better.
No,
and Leon could not shake it off. Leon would play 3 or 4 games, and whatever this issue was would flare up. It's absolutely no surprise. It's dreadful, though. He's still a relatively young man, and.
Yeah, you're right. He had 3 surgeries on his neck in the last 3 years. So that says it all, doesn't it?
It's not sustainable, is it?
No, and he's got to think of his long-term health. I think I saw a comment from George North on his Instagram. He said health comes first, and George knows about that, doesn't he? So he's absolutely right.
It's like Barrel said when he was on speaking to us. There comes a point when you have to prioritise being able to pick your kids up over rugby.
Oh, absolutely. And it's sad, isn't it? Because I think if Leon had managed to stay fit and he could overcome these injury issues, I think he could have been Wales's first choice tight end for a number of years. He had all the attributes. Big, powerful guy. I know people used to criticise his scrummaging, but actually he was a better scrummager than people gave him credit for. I think back to that 2019 season with Dean Ryan's first season. He was in very, very good form, scrummaged very well. But unfortunately, injury just kept holding him back. And it's another player in Welsh rugby whose promising career has just been wrecked by injuries, isn't it? You think of guys like Ollie Griffiths, Leon Brown, obviously, Corey Allen, Ellis Jenkins, Samson Lee. It's a cruel game, Gav, isn't it?
Uh, The thing is, it's an incredibly physical game, and
Yeah.
it's getting increasingly more physical. I think we're putting more load on players' bodies in terms. I I watched a couple of weeks ago. I watched the various channels on YouTube, and I watched a game between Newbridge and Ebbw from the late 80s.
Oh God, that'll be fun.
Oh God. Well, it was hilarious because if you compare it to modern, it doesn't look like modern rugby. The
No.
def the hits considerably less, physical. The
Yeah.
rucks are lawless, but mainly, big blokes punching each other. And you compare it now to what scrummages are like and what tackling is like, and the physical strain you must put on your body as a professional rugby player. It's
Yeah.
it, I genuinely think there's an argument for bigger squads.
Mm. Players are getting bigger and stronger now, and the game has changed.
I-
So
I'm
you're just going to
sure
get more players just having career-ending
I,
injuries, aren't
I'm
you?
sure I mentioned this on this pod before. Certainly mentioned it on other pods I've been on. 1974 Lions tour. Graham Price was the heaviest player on that tour. He
Mm.
was 14 stone 11. 2021 Lions tour, he would have been the second lightest player on the
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
You
Times
know,
have changed.
scrum halves weigh 15, 16 stone now. Not tight dead props. Yeah, the game has changed almost beyond compare.
It have. It really have. So in the last 8 months, then we've had now 5 Dragons players retiring.
Hmm.
So Jack Dixon, who we
Yeah,
just mentioned, Bradley Roberts, friend of the pod,
yeah.
Lloyd Fairbrother, friend of the pod, Ollie Griffiths, trying to get him on. When he's ready, we'll have him on. And Leon Brown. Those guys are going to be hard to replace for the Dragons because they were stalwarts, weren't they? They were really good players. All quality and experience gone.
Five really good pros.
Yeah.
And like you say, leaders. Can Jack leader, Ollie leader, Barrel
Mm.
leader. Kind of strong players.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Bradley, I know he didn't play for us that long, but he was a key part of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
Dragons team. Fans loved him, and we loved him, didn't we? Very
yeah.
reliable player, never let us down, did he?
No, you're a consistent player, and that's what I think our problem is now. The quality is diminished in the squad, but also the
Yeah.
consistency. Some of the players we got there aren't consistent enough. They can be good players, but I think we're putting a lot of pressure on younger players to be consistently good without the
Yeah.
experience, aren't we? You look at the side we put out today. For whatever reason, we've done it. 3 games in 14 days, yeah, get that. But you look at that side and look at the where we lacked experience. We lacked experience in the second row, a key position.
Mm.
We lack quality in the front row, a key position. Not experience, but certainly quality. We lacked experience in the back row,
Yeah.
in the
No,
centres.
you're absolutely right. And I think the way around this now is to bring through the quality youngsters, develop them, and also strong recruitment now because we've lost a lot of quality. And it comes down to head recruitment, John Westwood, and the owners. They really got to work hard now on getting quality into the club because
Yeah.
we've been vocal about this. A lot of supporters have been vocal about it. The recruitment we did in the summer, and even David Buttress, co-owner of the Dragons, even said this on social media. Our recruitment was not good enough.
Hi Evans looks like he's out for a while as well.
Yeah, nasty that was. He just crumpled into a
Yeah.
heap in front of us. He was ready to catch it. I don't know what happened. All I saw was just fall to the ground, and yeah, his leg was in a boot, wasn't it, after the game? I
On
saw
Premier
that.
Sports, they showed him on a boot, still being
Yeah,
helped to walk in the
yeah,
boot.
poor
You know,
bloke, poor bloke. But he's another one that's just had injuries throughout his career.
can't catch a break.
Yeah,
But he's different to like Leon because there's always something slightly different for Kai.
yeah. But yet again, we've signed a player with those injury issues.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about it. We got to stop signing injury-prone players. I know players will get injured playing this game, but we got to be smarter with our recruitment. We got to be a lot smarter. Okay, yeah. So sad news about Leon. Best of luck to him. I don't know what the future holds for him, but he's a good bloke. He was a good player for us, and it's just sad, isn't it, Gav? A player that had so much potential. He had all the raw materials to be a top tight end for Wales and for Dragons, but like I said, it's a cruel game. These things do happen.
When you first pick up a ball, your dream is you play at the highest level you can do. For Leon, he was living that dream. He was playing rugby for Wales. He was playing rugby for the Dragons, being a Newport boy, and all that's been
Yeah,
pulled away from him. That must be horrible.
yeah. So young as well. It's a real shame. It really is. So best of luck for the future, Leon. Good luck in your future endeavours. Okay, then. Shall we talk about what happened on Sunday afternoon? So we played Po in the Challenge Cup. We knew what we had to do. The Dragons knew full well what they had to do. This was a must-win game to give themselves a shot to qualifying for the last 16. And they blew it. Quite dramatically, actually. So Dragons lost 24-15 to Po at Ronnie Parade. A very poor performance and a very damaging result. So what does this mean now? Well, it means that Ospreys have qualified. They're very happy. They're like, thank you, Dragons, for being so woeful, because it now means that we've qualified. It also means that the Dragons now have to beat the Lions in Johannesburg if they are to qualify for the last 16. And bear this in mind, the Dragons have never won a game in South Africa. And given the current form of this team right now, I don't back them at all to override
Did we
that.
not beat the Cheetahs or the Kings?
Not in South Africa.
Oh, right.
We beat the Kings and we've beaten the Cheetahs, but that was
Yeah,
at
that's
Ronnie
what I
Parade.
thought, but not right. No,
Nope.
no.
The Dragons have never won a game in South Africa.
Jesus.
More on that. Exactly, yeah. More on that later. But let's look at that performance against Po. Look, Gav, Scarlets away on New Year's Day was woeful. We said that, didn't we? This performance against Po, I call a spade, as you know. It was hopeless. It was absolutely hopeless. I'm at a loss, actually, to explain that performance today. Considering what was on the line, they knew that they had to put in a good performance. All the talk about, knockout rugby, we're going to go for it, we're going to put on a show and all this sort of thing, give our supporters something to look forward to. And it's the same old Dragons, a loss, but another yet demoralising defeat. What was your take on it, Gav, on what we saw against Po?
It was clueless.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm, I've said to my wife before I came up to record, oh no, I need to try and frame this positively. But I think it's pointless. I think it does everybody a disservice if we came on here and said, oh, well, this bit was all right and this bit, because there were bits that were fine. But as as a relatively simple game, rugby, we didn't do any of the basics. Set piece was poor, particularly the scrum.
Yeah.
And if you're getting poor ball off the scrum, you're getting poor ball full stop. Attacking, I have no idea what's going on. And what is the decision making? And I saw a couple of people have said, like on the Facebook and everything else, about decision making. I don't understand why we're trying to offload the ball continually. No, well, no, I tell a lie. I do know why, and that's more emblematic of the problem. We were trying to offload the ball because we were getting absolutely mullered at the breakdown. The
Yeah.
number of turnovers because we just weren't there in numbers or just there in force, weren't there in force, and I think we became more desperate about that, and we also became desperate about trying to avoid scrummages because every scrummage turned into a penalty. Even the line-out misfired because we had a couple of attacking line-outs that we just could not cope with their maul defence.
No.
They just splintered our maul every time we tried getting a truck on towards the line. But it's just basic stuff. And
Yeah.
yes, I play at a much lower level, and it's easy for me to say that, blah, blah, blah. But these guys are paid to do that. They're paid to be able to pass and to catch
Mm,
and to scrum edge. And they can't do it at the level they need to do, or certainly that team couldn't do it at the level they need to do it.
no.
Defensively, it wasn't hideous. I think the tries were the tries. Apart from that one that the bloke absolutely butchered at the end of the first half,
That was funny, wasn't it? That really was funny.
you
Yeah.
know that was poor defense. Other than that, defense, they beat us because we couldn't keep hold of the ball for longer than 10 seconds.
Mm. Do you think, because I had this conversation with my dad and a couple of other people that were sat around me, would you say, because we have put in some good performances this season, a couple of decent ones, and some pretty woeful performances. Was that the worst performance for you so far this season?
Connacht was worse for me.
Connacht was worse.
Yeah.
Hmm. This was undoubtedly the worst home performance, though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hmm. Yeah. So, who stood out for you then, Gav? And there's not many positives to take away, but were there any players at all that
Uh,
caught your eye? Anyone you thought had a good game?
I thought Rio was decent, but he kept getting the ball in heavy traffic, and he's not Harry Potter. He's not going to cast a magic spell. He can't suddenly weave through five blokes, but he tried his bloody best to every time he got the ball, and he deserved to
He did.
try.
He did, yeah.
But poor error that led to the scrum five to them, but we got away with that somehow. But I thought Harry Ackerman had a good game.
Yeah,
Go
great
both,
to see him back, wasn't it? Really good after a
yeah.
horrible leg injury suffered against Wales under 20, playing for Wales under 20s against France. He's been in really good form for Newport, and we're big fans of him on this pod. I certainly am anyway.
Mm.
I was really impressed with it. I thought he was good today.
I thought he had really good game in
Yeah,
attack and defence, and he was the only player you could say operated well in everything he was expected to do.
yeah.
So he had a decent game, and then I am scraping at soil uh, to name anyone else. Can you think of anyone else who had a decent game?
I thought Barney Langton Cryer on his first start for the Dragons was decent. I thought he was decent.
He,
Harry Ackerman.
I
Sorry.
thought Barney was physically kind of dominated a couple of times, which
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect of a lad who's 6'5" and 115 kilos.
But he has been playing Super Rugby Cymru for Newport. This was his first Dragon start. He hasn't had many games at this level. Um, I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was bad at all. Yeah, there was a couple of times where, maybe physically he was off it,
Yeah,
but I
I,
thought he
I
put in a decent performance.
I don't think he was. Yeah, he wasn't poor, and he did try his level. But there were just times when, like the French number eight, the Pole number eight, just absolutely just kind of drove him out the rucks a couple of times, and I think
Yeah.
the eight took great delight in doing it almost. Mind you, the eight was huge. He was even bigger
Yeah,
than Barney was. So
absolutely. Yeah. Um, Alan Wainwright, I thought had another, you know,
he
stellar game. I mean, it feels like he's doing it all on his own at the moment. And I gotta say, on a wider point, I think I just feel sorry now for guys like Wainwright, Tane Basham, and Rio Dyer because they work so hard every week in a poor team for very little reward. And it must be slightly demoralizing from their point of view, isn't it? So
if you were
it's
any one
tough.
of those, and Leicester, Sale, Saracens, whoever, a French team came to you and said, "Do you want to come and play for us? We'll pay you twice as much, and you'll be a decent sized fish in a big pond, so we won't put as much pressure on you, and you'll have lovely lifestyle." You jump at it, wouldn't you?
They deserve better. All,
They
all those guys I mentioned. I like the fact they're playing for the Dragons. I hope they stay. But on the other hand as well, I think you guys deserve better than what they're
they're all
getting right
new.
now.
They're all Gwent boys, aren't they? Tane,
Yeah.
Wayno, and and Rio, kind of, I think, furthest afield is Tainus from Talawine. There'll come a point, though, if, if I was Tim Basham and said, do you want to come to Saracens? I'd be, yeah, tell you what, live near London, get paid twice as much, 3 times as much as I'm earning now, nor have to play
Well,
every game. Yeah, all right.
he's out the contract,
Yeah.
heavily linked with the Scarlets and a couple of other English clubs. Would he stay? I don't know. If he left, I wouldn't blame him.
No, neither would
I,
I.
I would never blame anyone for leaving the Dragons, actually, and going on to bigger and better things. I wouldn't blame Wainwright. I think we were very lucky to keep Wainwright and Rio the last time.
Yeah.
So if these guys go again, I'll say all the best. Thanks for everything.
But if I was Rio and like a French club came, I think, well, they'll suit my style of play better.
Who knows? He might even get the ball.
Yeah.
He might even actually receive the ball.
And not in this much space with three back rowers and the number 8 and the second row lining him up, as seemed to happen every time we got the ball today.
Yeah, I'll talk about the attack in a bit, but every time we gave him the ball, because it was so slow and predictable, he had like 4 or 5 guys on him. He was just running into traffic, and it's just not good enough. It's really
the 6 and the 7 tracked him.
Yeah.
They tracked him across the field every time he got the ball.
Yeah.
And there was one, he got into space, and the 7's just come and just caught his leg because he tracked him, he had followed him across the field.
Yeah. Just my takeaways from this game then, pretty much what you say, Gav. I think being at the game, one of the things I noticed, I always talk about how good the atmosphere is at Ronnie Parade, and he usually is, to be fair. But today was quite flat, and I don't know how it came across to you watching on television. How did the crowd and the atmosphere come across on TV?
Oh, not like from a crowd point of view, but just came across quiet and dead. And the only time we could really hear the crowd was any time someone knocked the ball
on. Yes, that dreaded. He knocked it on. He knocked it on. I hate that, by the way.
Which must have bemused the French players, thinking, why are they singing the Marseillaise?
No, I know it's very popular with Dragons fans on the terraces singing that song. I don't like it. I think it's absolute cringe.
But that's the only thing you could do with any kind of thing.
I know it's a bit of fun. I know, and I know lots of boys who like singing it, but for me, it's like, nah, just stop it. It's cringe. Yeah. So Rodney Parade, it was flat today. I heard a few people say that as well.
Came across on TV like that.
In fact, everything about that game was flat. The crowd was flat. The atmosphere was flat. The performance on the field was flat. Given what was at stake, needing to win, needing a bonus point try, ideally. We knew what we had to do. It was just flat. There was no urgency.
No.
Just very, very flat. And even from Poe mind, they didn't seem half-assed themselves, really.
They were very good.
They didn't come down here with urgency or any real to say. They were just happy to turn up and, because when we give away a lot of penalties, as we seem to do, a lot of teams will kick to the corner, won't they?
Yeah.
But they were just quite happy, taking the points on offer. They weren't pushing.
Our discipline was poor. Discipline was poor, yeah. And but I don't think they were very good.
Poe, no, they weren't. They were there to be beaten. They were there for the taking. They didn't seem that asked, really, did they, Poe? They turned up, but they didn't seem that really bothered about coming down here.
They had all those young backs that, well, you wouldn't have viewed. They were talking about, oh yeah, these are an exciting group of backs. All they seemed to do was give it to the big lads.
Yeah. But it did strike me today, though, how flat he was. And I think now, and I felt this at Dragons games before, but I'm seeing it again now, there's an air of resignation now in the crowd. Whenever we go down a couple of scores, it's kind of like, oh, here we go again. And then the atmosphere just really drops. And I'm not surprised because they're watching a losing team every week, and that's how it's getting now. It's very hard to keep raising your spirits, isn't it? And being positive when you see that on the field every week.
I've seen some comments this week about keeping the faith, and I think that's admirable and right. You should keep the faith in your side. You should always want the best for them. But it's got to count. There's got to be some quid pro quo, isn't there? There's got to be something in response. And at the minute, our faith is being rewarded with nothing.
No.
It doesn't
you're
even
right.
strike me as effort. And kind of, the fans will, the true fans will always support the club, and that is right and proper. But it can't be a one-way relationship forever.
No, you can't. Absolutely right. So that was the first thing I wrote down about the atmosphere, just how flat it was, the occasion, the performance, atmosphere, everything was just flat today, really flat. The scrum. Oh boy, the scrum. Now look, the Dragons have never had a good, strong scrum, really, have they? But my God, he got absolutely minced today, didn't they? And we knew it was going to be a struggle. I did say to you that we could be up against the pack, could be really up against it. I mean, Martinez and Coleman, my God, they had a wretched time. They were folded like deck chairs, Gavin, they the scrum. What was you
I,
seeing when you watched the scrum?
so that we had a bit of a chat about this before, and what I was really picking up was Martinez just wasn't able to get a drive on. His kind of, without getting overtly technical, he's not being driven into the scrum enough, so his arse was coming out at an angle, so he's not driving straight. So the ref was rightly penalising that.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, Coleman's bind just wasn't strong enough, and he's been pulled down. He's been driven down nearly every scrum. So we're giving away a penalty either because Coleman's collapsing or because Martinez isn't driving straight the entire game. But then it didn't improve when it changed. Our hip held his end up more than Coleman did, but the young lad who came on in the front row is Kelleher.
Yeah, Dylan Kelleher Griffiths.
Yeah, Kelleher Griffiths, and he was double barreled. First thing, exactly the same thing happens to him. He just gets driven out sideways, and we lose a penalty.
It was painful watching our scrum. It got
Yeah, and
absolutely
they were
destroyed.
huge. That front row, and then they replaced it with an even bigger collection of players.
But that's what all French teams do, have massive
Mm.
packs. Every single French club that comes to Rodney Parade, they always have massive packs. So you know what you're up against. And Philo said in a week, we know what we're coming up against, but we can't contain it. The players that we've got haven't got the skill set or the power
No,
to contain, a very strong and dominant pack.
and it gives Poe a kind of an easy ride, because even if they passed the ball forward or knocked it on, which they did a lot, it
Yeah.
didn't really matter because they were getting the ball back, and they were getting the ball back with bells on because they were winning penalties at the scrum.
Mm.
I'd be interested to see the stats, but I reckon completed scrums were minimal because most of them ended in penalties.
Yeah, we're not a podcast that delves too much on stats, are we? And I
No.
haven't had the time. I haven't long got back from Rodney Parade, so I haven't really had the time. But I will have a look at the stats just to see, because I'd be quite interested. I'd like to know how many penalties were given away today, because my goodness, I lost count by the amount of times
Well,
Dragons
I
gave
was
away
keeping a
penalties.
record, and because somebody knocked my door and my dog had a mental breakdown, I lost count at 14.
Why is our discipline so bad now? Because it seems to me that it's getting worse as the
Um,
season goes on. What do you put that down to?
who's leading would be my question. Who's leading the side? And I don't just mean who's captain. Angus is captain, I get that. But rugby's a funny game. You can't just have one leader, you need multiple leaders. Who's leading the pack? Who's the one saying, right, this needs to bloody stop? Who's the one organising defence? Because that's where we're giving away most of our penalties. Who's the person organising that defence and saying, no, you need to pull in you. You need to stop doing that.
I've just pulled up some stats on the EPCR website. So we gave away 18 penalties today.
Yeah. Like I said, I lost count to 14.
Yeah. Paul gave away 14. We gave away 18.
That's terrible. Like 32 penalties.
Right. You want to know about scrum success
Yeah.
percentage? So Poe's was 89%. Go on, have a guess. What was the Dragons' scrum success?
10. And I'm being generous, I think.
Oh, it's higher than that.
Is
It's
it?
low, but it's higher than that, yeah.
I can't think of one we won, though.
We did win one. I can remember winning one scrum,
Oh,
but I think it's because they pushed early, wasn't it? I don't think
30%.
No, our scrum success was 60%, according to the EPCR match stats. Hull won 8 scrums. We won 3. 3 scrums. Line out
Two of those were
success.
penalties.
Yeah. Line out success for the Dragons, 75%.
I was
That's low.
gonna, yeah.
That's low. Pose line out success, 94%. They won 16 line outs, we won 12.
And the thing is, whenever they we won 75% of our lineouts, but of the mauls we tried, none of them worked.
This is interesting. I say we don't delve on stats, and yet we are, because I'm just
Yeah.
fascinated to know the stats on this one. They won 7 turnovers. We only won 3.
Yeah.
77% tackle success. That's not very good, is it?
No, it's not high enough.
Post was 84.
84 is, within
About right,
tolerances, but
isn't it?
it's low, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had 65% possession and 60% territory. We had more offloads and defenders beaten than they did, and we made more carries than they did, according to this. I mean, that's all very well, but they didn't do anything with it.
No.
They didn't do anything at all with
it. If you could double the possession, or essentially double the possession of the opposition, and you're doing nothing with it, well, that points towards something quite significant, doesn't it?
So those are just some of the stats I've sort of cherry picked there, looking on the official match stats there. Not surprising, really, is it? The low scrum percentage and the line out success. Yeah, it's just not good enough. Let's talk about the attack. Our attack is so bad. It's very, very, very bad. There is no structure in how we play at all. There's no cutting edge. It's as blunt as a butter knife. We're lateral. Have you noticed that? How lateral we are in attack? Again, a couple of too many aimless kicks. I thought again today. Our kicking game wasn't very good. That's something you spoke about before we recorded. Our kicking game was atrocious, wasn't it, Gav?
Our kicking game was terrible. And I'm not anti-kicking. I think kicking is an important strategy in modern rugby, but you've got to do it right.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to what I was saying, this lack of basics. There was one kick, I was Angus who did it, and it was great because it was just a grass, and it gave us time to organise our defence, which is what good kicking game allows. Most of the time, we spend kicking it to the 2 quickest blokes on the field. Which, oddly enough, isn't a good strategy.
There's been times with Angus have been really successful with some 50-22s, but I thought the kicking game today just wasn't there. It wasn't good enough. And also, as well, something that drives me absolutely mental, I've spoken to you about this, I've spoken on the pod about it as well. Can we please cut out these loop passes over the top that stay in the air for what feels like forever? And then when we do eventually catch, when we get smashed backwards, or it just goes into touch, can we just actually stop with stop trying to play like Finn Russell? It's getting ridiculous now.
My son is an absolute showboater rugby player. Anything showboaty, he loves doing. And I had to bollock him today, coaching, just saying, stop playing missed passes.
Yeah.
Because you're not drawing any defenders. In fact, you're allowing defenders chance to get across. A missed pass is great if you've drawn the defence in. And we were doing stuff that I'm telling 11 and 10-year-olds off for. It's...
But it's so easy to read, Gav. Listen, I'm just a bloke on a pod, right? I'm just a bloke. I'm a supporter sat in the stands. You can see it a mile off when it's happening. And the defence has got time to just drift wide and smash a defender, smash the attacker, sorry. So if I can see it, right, why can't they see it on the field? Why can't the coaches see it?
Why does it work for Finn Russell? And you said this earlier when we were chatting. Because he does it at pace, and he does it at pace to a 17-stone man who's moving at pace when he catches it.
Yeah.
Whereas we do it to Jared, who's catching the ball above his head.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
And then has a large Frenchman reorganising his rib cage for him.
Well, that's happened a few times. We throw these missed passes, these loop passes, and they're catching it over their heads, so the ball goes out, and it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's not good enough. At this level, that's not going to stick. That's not good enough.
It's basics. Play a missed pass once you've drawn defenders in, when you
Yeah.
into space. Because if you do a missed pass when the defence is lined up, you're actually creating more defenders. Because if you've done a missed pass, the inside defender or the outside defender knows he doesn't have to stay there. He can shuffle in. And then
Yeah.
all the other defenders can shuffle in. And even if you pull the ball back inside, there's blokes there. It is stupid.
I mean, I watched Gloucester Scarlets on Friday night, and I was quite critical of the Scarlets. I wrote on the WhatsApp group, their attack was atrocious. By God, it was a lot better than ours today. We made the Scarlets attack look like the All Blacks or the Fiji attack. It's bad. It's really bad. It's a big weakness of this
And I
team.
don't
I
know
know
if you saw.
I know people talk about the front five and the scrums. I get that, but our attack, that is now a big, big problem, and it's not getting better.
Well, our problem is in too many places now.
Yeah.
Our scrum isn't working. Our line out isn't as effective as it needs to be. Our kicking from hand is poor. Our kicking
Of
from the
discipline.
tee is poor. Our
Yeah.
discipline is poor. Our attacking structure is poor. It's a bit of
That,
a problem.
yeah, and that brings me on to a good point as well. You just mentioned we haven't got a goal kicker in the team. Lloyd Evans again off the tee. You know, even when he took that kick twice when the French defender came off his line too soon, he was asked to take it again. Great, and he still missed. And I'm not saying it was an easy kick, but it was a kick he should
No,
have scored. Surely it was in front of the post near enough, wasn't it? At a slight
I'd be,
angle, but still, for
I,
someone
I'd,
of his quality and experience, he's got to make those kicks.
I'd be interested in what his kicking stats are, his percentage. I reckon it's probably around 50%, which is nowhere near high enough for a first choice kicker in a professional team.
No, but Angus has got a lot of criticism from supporters lately about his goal kicking. So we started the season with Lloyd Evans at 10 and his goal kicking was poor. And then supporters were saying, well, why isn't Angus taking the kicks? Angus needs to step up and take the goal kicks and the penalties and conversions, whatever. And then he starts missing. So then Lloyd Evans comes onto the field today, replaces Kai Evans, and he takes the kicks. There's noticeable Angus O'Brien didn't take the kicks. Still no good. We have got a big problem. We don't have a goal kicker in the team, and it's
No.
costing us points. It's cost us games, actually. There's been some games where, because we've missed those kicks, we've lost. But how do you solve that problem? They've experienced enough, Angus and Lloyd Evans, and these aren't kids. These are actually experienced pros, but they're not getting their points off the tee.
But again, let's go back to what you said right at the start about recruitment. So if Lloyd Evans has been selected to be 10, which I'm assuming he has been,
That was the
but
plan, yeah.
yeah, and selected to be first choice kicker, surely we've seen him kick. Surely the work's been done.
But he wasn't this bad for Gloucester. I don't profess to watch Gloucester week in, week out, but when I did watch him, he was always a tidy player. That's why I was,
Didn't kick a lot,
quite
though, from
pleased.
my understanding.
No, he didn't. Not
From
place kicking and stuff.
from
No, he didn't.
speaking to Gloucester fans.
No. But still, it's a big problem, isn't it? Not having a goal kicker in our squad. It's hurting us. I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference today, but it's just a problem I've noticed
No.
all through the season.
And like Will Reed's probably a more accurate kicker, but then
He still has
Will's
issues off the
yeah, and
tee as well.
he's not at the level either to be playing the 10 for us. I don't think at the minute, so
Not at the minute, no. I think he needs
no.
more Super Rugby Cymru under his belt. Yeah, I'm feeling I'm just being pretty flat after that performance. I just thought it was hopeless. I hate saying that, I really do, but I just thought it was yet another
It's poor,
hopeless,
yeah.
dispiriting result for the Dragons.
It's all
Yeah.
right though, Jamie. We've got a game out in Johannesburg and then Munster, so you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Marvelous. Um, let's listen to what Philo had to say after the game. So he said this: "We will have to do a really honest review." I mean, I can't imagine that's the first time, is it? The Dragons company have been having honest reviews. We will have to do a really honest review. There were a lot of good things from certain individuals in the game that helped us build momentum, but we kept on releasing it. We just can't do that against teams in this competition. Listen to this. I feel like a broken record at the moment, talking about growth and learning, but that is where we are at. He feels like a broken record. Welcome to our world, mate. Welcome to our world, Philo. Now you know what it's like. I
He's
think he's
only had to
starting
do
to
it.
he's understanding now the challenge at the Dragons, isn't he? It's sinking in big time, isn't it?
He's only had to do it for a couple of months. We've been doing this for a year and a half.
Welcome to the Dragons, Philo. This is what it's like. Do you think he is now seriously starting to understand the scale of the challenge from like what he's been saying lately?
Surely he must have understood that anyway. Surely.
But
You
now
know.
he's head coach. Do you know what I mean? He's not defense coach anymore, but now he's actually in the hot seat. It's probably dawning on him that this is a massive challenge trying to turn around this team, isn't it? And does he really want the job? We still don't know if he wants the job. We know the owners want him to have it.
But right, let's be realistic now, right? Coaching, we have said, isn't good enough, right? We've said that. Let's put that to one side. Even if we brought in, Imperial era Warren Gatland, even if we brought in Scott Robertson, even if we brought in, kind of whatever coach you want from any point
Sean
of
Edwards.
history, whoever, whoever you bloody want, who would bring in, they're not turning these into top level players because they are not top level players.
No, they're not. They're really not. I tell you who was there today, and they walked past me. Warren Gatland. He looks old. Looking old Gatland. Rob Howley was there. And Neil Jenkins was there. They all walked past me. They were up in the hospitality bit behind me. And I got told by somebody that they left early. And at one point, Rob Howley was shaking his head at us. He was watching the game and shaking his head.
Probably had some money on it.
Oh, Gav, don't say that.
I'm sure he had no money on us.
I wouldn't bet on it. Hey! No, we shouldn't. No, that's not funny. We shouldn't joke about that.
No, we shouldn't. But, yeah, I'm with him because I was shaking my head at one point as well.
Yeah. Because I looked back at one point and I didn't see him. And then I won't name the person who told me. I said, they've left early. He said, Rob Howley was shaking his head at one point and they just left.
Can you blame him, though?
No, I don't blame anyone.
He's going to turn some of those players into international players.
Mm.
I've all right. Yeah, I like Rob Howley as a coach. I think he's a good coach. Gatland, he's not on his Imperial phase anymore. But he's
a good coach.
One of the best.
Yeah.
But as I said about us, you can't turn mediocre players into anything better than mediocre players.
No. Before we move on, a new feature for the pod. We don't normally do this on this pod. The other feeder pods in the Rap network or the Rap family, whatever you want to call it, they do this, but we don't normally. But I was keen to get supporters' opinions. The old 3-word review. So we asked supporters for their 3-word review on that performance today, Gav. So this is what we got. Dino, same old story. Gareth, friend of the pod, who we know has been on, he says, lost all hope. Greg says, soul destroying and heartbreaking. Stephen says, coaching, selection, skills. And then underneath in brackets, lack of. It's fair enough, I suppose, isn't it? Richard, we need props. Jack says, all-time low. And this person here, this is interesting. He says, kick more ball. Well, that goes against the comments that we've had on this podcast where they've been saying that we're kicking too much ball. But no. Tom
Kick ball better would be my view.
Yes, but kick more ball, that's an interesting one. We don't normally get that on this podcast. Like I said, people are too busy complaining we kick too much. Gareth Putner says, penalties, demoralising, embarrassing. Tony Davis, errors, penalties, predictable. Darren says, too many penalties. Yeah, this is a common theme, isn't it? The penalties. Matthew gets in touch. We are bottle jobs. That's 4 words, Matthew, not 3. Chris says, same old story.
I don't, and I saw that comment and I disagreed with it. Not because I understand where it's coming from, but we just aren't good enough. It's not about our mentality; it's about our ability, I think.
Yeah. David says, very, very depressing. Leanne, sparks of effort. But then in brackets, she's breaking the rule here, but in brackets she wrote, but we need a flame throughout. So sparks of efforts, but we need a flame throughout.
Yeah, which I get.
Yeah, yeah. Graham, total overhaul needed. Yes, Graham. I think it's
Yeah,
pretty clear and obvious. We
sure.
talked about it on the last week's pod, didn't we? Mike says, Mike Duggan, lack of ideas. Mark says, scrap the regions. No, no, that's not the answer.
Well, I'm replacing with what? Replacing with what? Clubs? Because that'll be a good idea. Let's go from 4 clubs that haven't got enough players and coaches of quality to 8 or 12 that have even less money, even less players, and even less coaches. Yeah, that'd be a great idea. That'll fix it.
No, it's just absolute nonsense comment, let's be honest. Gareth says, one word, shit. Fair enough. I'm not going to disagree. David says, Newport are better. I mean, if Dragons play Newport, yeah,
I think
I think Newport could
Dragons
give
would be
Dragons a
Newport.
good game. Do you reckon? I don't know at the moment. I honestly don't know. Peter, unfortunately, getting worse. Nick says, same old story. David gets in touch. Lost for words. Andrew says, I was bored. Yeah, it was a
Oh,
boring
it
game.
was a poor game of rugby. Poor game.
It was. It was so
Not
boring.
Ospreys Cardiff, poor, but poor.
Oh God, no, nothing could be that bad, I don't think. But this was pretty turgid, I will say. Dave, not good enough. Gavin Thomas, that's you. Very little threat. That's your 3-word review.
Yeah, it was. And honestly, we could still be playing now, long after Poe were on the way back to Gatwick, and we still wouldn't score.
Yeah. Mickey Wynn says character building apparently. Okay,
No, I like that.
fair enough. Mickey. One word from Andrew: mediocre.
Yeah,
I I
absolutely.
I, thi- I think that's been a bit kind, if I'm honest. Any
Mediocre at
other?
best. That'll take her up to 3 words.
Yeah, I think that's all of it. Um, oh, the one year from Chris. Flat as frig. Yeah, that goes back to the game and the atmosphere. And oh, we got another one, yeah, from Rod. Apologies for the language, but this is what the supporters are saying. Rod says his 3-word review is utter dog shit.
Is that 2 words? I don't know.
He separated it.
All right.
Yeah,
See,
so yeah,
I have
utter
to
dog
do
shit, says Rod.
I have to do technical writing for work, and we have a glossary that we have to follow, and certain words get hyphenated and certain words don't. Not a word
Yeah,
we use very often in my job, though, so not one I have to
no.
worry about.
So there we are then. Most of the supporters' 3-word reviews. Listen, jokes aside, right? Laughing aside, I don't blame them.
No.
There was a couple of supporters that sat round by us. These are guys who have been season tickets for a little while. I won't mention his name. He knows who he is. He listens to us, this pod. He'll know. He told me and my dad today during the game that he's been a season ticket holder for 22 years, and he's seriously considering not renewing next year because he's that fed up and he's not happy with the club in terms of what they've done off the field, the whole Ronnie's bar thing, making people charge for that. He's had a good moan about that. A few people have
So
moaned
how
about
does
it.
that work? I was thinking about that the other day. So do you have to buy a membership for 30 quid a year, and then you have a card, and you have to show it to get into the bar?
I think you have a pass, don't you? I think, yeah. So
Right.
you have to pay for it. The thing is, though, if I was a member of Ronnie's bar, you can't come in as my guest. I'm not allowed to bring any friends in. It's only for members. It's a members only. So they tried to make it like a clubhouse. I got big issues with Ronnie's bar anyway. It's not worth paying for because the beer is rubbish. They're always short-staffed, and it's just not very nice in there. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd rather go to the pub before the game, and it would help the club if I, ate and drank at the stadium. But no, I'd rather I go to the pub
But you could
before and
go
after
to
the
our
game.
sponsors and have top quality beer and food.
That's a very nice segue, Gav. I would much rather go to the Riverside Sports Bar and get delicious dirty fries and ice cold beer on draft than go to Ronnie's bar. Yeah, I would. Sorry, I'm being honest. I'm being honest. I'm not paying for that. But some supporters have, and they're still not happy with it. But there's all sorts of things that he's not happy with. Like I say, I won't mention him, but 22 years he's been a season ticket holder, and he's thinking of not renewing. There's a lot more of these people, Gav, and I've seen a lot. We spoke about this on the last pod. A lot of people are saying I've been a season ticket holder for guys. I'm thinking of not renewing. What's the point? The club need to wake up, and I know they listen to this pod. They need to wake up and listen to the supporters. Seriously now, wake up, all of you, because people are fed up. People have had enough. Good people who have renewed season after season have had a cupful.
You can't blame them. You can't blame all the fans who are saying this now. Because faith without hope is absolutely kind of soul destroying.
Yeah. And there were some jokes going around about this Q&A we got coming up as well. People are not really taking that seriously because it's like, yeah, we've heard it all before.
Yeah.
The joke is, yeah, we've had a bad season. What do we do now? Don't sign new players. Don't do this. Don't invest. That's all the Q&A. That's kind of the joke that's going around. So
yeah, action, not words now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think I'll do it for now. Shall we move on to the Gwent Rugby Round-Up?
We certainly can.
What's the latest then, Gav?
Right. Well, I'm going to start with our friends from the All Stars. So they travelled to Yeovil and returned victorious, 57 points to 19, away win. Excellent win there. Played and officiated in the mixed ability spirit. Next up for the team is East versus West Derby as they face Llanelli Warriors on the 19th of January in a 2:30p kickoff at the home of rugby, Ebervale RFC, Cineglass Community Stadium at Eugene Cross Park. Now, I know you were talking to Christian from the All Stars and the Supporters Club today, and
he wants you down there.
Well, and I'm saying this out loud, and I'm a man of my word. Foolishly, I will play for them this season. I will make sure. I will get the fixture list from Christian, and I will find a game, and I will commit myself to coming up and playing wherever, kind of, Christian, if you want to organise a game in Sussex and make my life a lot easier. But otherwise, I will come up and play in Ebervale. Because I'd love to do it.
Though.
Oh, I would.
Running on to the famous Eugene Cross Park, wouldn't you?
I would. And to be honest, kind of 14-year-old me would be flabbergasted at the concept of it. So I'm saying that I will do it before the end of the season because this is probably my last season playing anyway. So.
Gavin, say that every bloody season and you're still playing. You'll never retire this
the sound my knee makes, Jamie, just walking now is like. I played the Vets game last week, and those corpses they find in peat bogs that have been there for 10,000 years, and they're like curled up. I was like that all of last Sunday. I was like I'd been found dead in a peat bog.
You love it, really.
I do. And this is the thing. In the same way that kind of you love going to Ronnie Parade.
I don't at the moment, but yeah, I get your point.
It's these are things which are part of us, and they're very difficult to give up, aren't they? And I think kind of if you look at the All Stars, it's played in it's just a wonderful and kind of mixability rugby. It's played in the most positive attitude, and I think it's a thing that needs to be celebrated.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely fair enough, mate.
So not much rugby this weekend, sadly. A combination, I imagine, of frozen pitches and other games going on. So it was certainly the case in Sussex, but some games. So into the Championship, where Penalster beat Talwine 43-17. There were a couple of derbies further down the league. So Division 1, the Market Town derby, I'm turning into Phil Steele. Abergavenny 5, Monmouth 5.
Friend of the pod, Phil Steele.
Yeah, absolutely. Division 2, the Newtown derby, Cwmbran 29, Croeso Ceiliog 26. The bragging rights in the Cwmbran shopping centre will lie with Cwmbran for the rest of the season. Also in Division 2, Gandifai 15, Blaenau 33. Division 3, Chepstow 39, Oakdale 19. And Machen 11, Rumney, not Cardiff, Rumney 18. Division 4, Betters 14, Crickhowell 50. Now, I think Crickhowell's technically in Powys, but I claim them as a Gwent side.
Yeah, I thought they were as well.
I might be wrong.
No.
Oh, nice place to go and have a drink in the summer by the River Crickhowell.
Must be very nice, yeah.
Yeah, or that kind of wasn't ever available. That was a rite of passage going drinking in Crickhowell.
Yeah.
Division 5, Hollybush 0, Derry 36, and Mago 23, Hartridge 26. And in the Division 6A, Old Tolarian 10, Briniffle 9. So not much rugby, but kind of lots more successful Gwent sides there.
See, I was listening for the West Mon result, but I'm guessing they didn't play, did they?
They didn't play, no.
No, because I've grown a bit attached to them because they've had such a stinking season, and the results have been absolutely wretched. So now I got a bit of a soft spot for them. I'm thinking, just read out the result where they've won and not lost like 80 odd 5 or whatever.
Well, I know lads who played for Westmont, in the 90s, contemporaries of mine. And they've always been around that level, but they're having a rough old time, Westmont, and I do hope for the best for them.
Yeah, so do I. So that's it then, Gav, for the Gwent Rugby Round-Up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And congratulations again to the All-Stars. A Dragons team that knows how to win.
Yeah.
A Dragons team that's successful. Yeah.
The wheelchair team and the All-Stars are superb.
Yeah. Good to know a Dragons team or teams, that can win. Maybe the senior boys need to get some inspiration from them, get a team talk from them. Okay, cheers, Gav. So what's next for the Dragons then? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's Johannesburg. So I'm not making excuses here. You know me, I never make excuses for the Dragons, but they have been shafted by a schedule now. Probably shafted. They got to play 3 games in 14 days. They'll have to fly to South Africa. I think Chris Curran said on a Tuesday. So they'll get very little time to prep and acclimatise to the conditions of South Africa. They'll be playing at altitude as well in Johannesburg. Horrible place to go. Horrible place. The Lions are a really good team. Tough place to go. They can't come home on the same day. They have to stay an extra day. That's because of EPCR rules. So you have to come home on a Sunday. Then they got limited time to prepare for a game against, check notes. Oh, it's only Munster, who beat Saracens on the weekend, even though they've got a crippling injury list. It's a wretched, wretched schedule, and we have been properly shafted.
Last but one URC champions, Munster. Let's not forget.
Of course. And given the form of this team right now, yeah. So it's Johannesburg next. As I said earlier, we know what we've got to do. We knew what we had to do against Po, but we failed. It's a straight shootout now, isn't it? That's what it looks like. It's a straight shootout between Dragons and Lions. Whoever wins is not going to get a home tie. Bear that in mind. So, I mean, I think Europe, I'm being honest, I think it's an absolute shambles now with the South African teams involved. I really do. I used to love Europe, the old Heineken Cup and all that, but ever since the South Africans got involved, it's messy, the touring, the cost of it as well. Dragons got to fly nearly 10,000 miles just to play one game of rugby. And I know it works the other way with the South Africans travelling, but it's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
What frustrates me, though, is, Jamie, that the league was done. Why didn't we prioritize this competition?
You think we should have prioritised the Challenge Cup?
Yeah, the league was done. We're not getting anywhere near the playoffs.
No. So there's been a lot of discourse recently around the selection of the teams we've picked. We have not picked anywhere near our first choice team for any of these Challenge Cup games. Bear in mind now, we have got a lengthy injury list as well, so that's played its part. But Aaron Wainwright only played today because Shane Lewis-Hughes dropped out. So we wouldn't have even had. Can you imagine today without Aaron Wainwright? Imagine how it could have got even worse. And today was bad, really bad. But imagine how worse it could have been if we didn't have Aaron Wainwright.
I don't know if you saw the comment on one of the Facebook groups. Shane Lewis-Hughes' brother was, my brother dropped out because he was unwell. But why is anyone expecting a bunch of kids to be able to cope at this level?
But as I was trying to say, there's a lot of discourse from supporters around the selection. There's a lot of anger saying, why haven't we gone close to picking our strongest team? I mean, I felt he definitely got it wrong against Montpellier. And we were so close to beating them, even though we were pretty bad in that game as well, let's be honest. I mean, the conditions were wretched, but yet again, we had the wind on our backs, so we didn't score a single point. Newcastle, to be fair, one of the best probably the performance of the season, I would say, wouldn't you? Because we only won two games.
Yeah.
I thought we were really good in that game, and everything we did just clicked. Even our scrum was good.
Yeah.
That's how good the performance was, and I don't say that very often.
Newcastle scrum was poor.
Well,
yeah,
maybe a bit of both.
Potato, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair point. Yeah, you're right. But this, when I showed you the team selection, like when the team came out on Friday, and I sent it to you in the group, we both kind of had the same reaction of, nah, that pack, the backs, the bench. It's getting like that now almost every week, isn't it? You just look at this Dragons team now, and yeah, there's a handful of really good players, but the rest you just think, nah. But that's where we are. Those are the players we got.
I think it's Graham's comment about an overhaul, and it's right. It's if we want to compete, there has to be quite a lot of blood in, and just like, yeah, sorry, not good enough.
Yeah, and I don't want to name players on this pod, but we know who they are. We know who they are.
And the issue is, it's not their fault. They're being asked to do a job above their capabilities. And I will say, for all those players, all of them try their bloody level best.
Well, there's no lack of effort there.
No.
I'm not going to criticize them for lack of effort. It's just not good enough.
Yeah,
that's the reality. They're just not good enough. Doesn't mean they're not trying hard. Just means they're not up to it. It's fine. It's not their fault. That's not their level. There are some guys in our squad, as we mentioned on the last pod. They'd be great in Super Rugby Cymru. They'd be a good mentor to the younger players coming through the pathway. Some would do a really good job in the English Championship, for clubs like Nottingham, Ampthill, Ealing, but URC, no, just not good enough. That's just how it is. But I think the main point of this conversation was we haven't picked our strongest team available for Europe. And I think it's a fair point. Philo has prioritised the youngsters a lot, actually, since he's taken over, hasn't he? It kind of feels like we're developing, like he's treating us like a development team at the moment,
I made a joke on the AI generated pod that Rap did a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
That it felt like his team was being selected via Ouija board, and that's what it feels like to me. So, he's tapping into some kind of spirit guide and then just writing down the first 15 names that come to mind.
We had a lot of comments on our Facebook and X feed about the team selection. A lot of people saying, why are we not picking our best players? Because, like I said, Wainwright was originally left out. And he played today only because Shane Lewis-Hughes dropped out. But I think fans are just going to get disgruntled, especially after that result, because they'll be, why didn't we pick a strong team against Montpellier? Okay, it worked against Newcastle away, but could we have gone stronger again?
Newcastle, they send a weaker team down to Ospreys, but Newcastle are rubbish.
But to be fair, when we played them, they'd won their last 4 games at home, and they beat the likes of Exeter. I know we're struggling, but they beat Saracens. That was a full strength squad when we played them. We battered them, but they played a third string Newcastle. We played a much stronger Newcastle.
We played a decent Newcastle side, but the Newcastle side that Ospreys beat was rubbish.
Oh yeah, that was fodder. That was
that
was fodder. Congratulations to them though. They're in the last 16. We're not, and we're probably not.
They found a way.
They did find it. Mark Jones unbeaten. Nice
Yeah.
coach from Toby Booth, fair play. Oh, I killed to have Toby Booth at the Dragons. I'm not going to have that conversation again because it feels like we've had that many times before. But anyway, Dragons in South Africa. They're going to have to beat the Lions. They're going to have to do something they've never done before and actually win a game in South Africa. Gav, do you give them any hope at all of beating the Lions in Johannesburg?
No.
It's over, isn't it? The Europe is over, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
would be too negative by saying that.
No. So
It's going to take a major, major upset.
when was the last time we went away?
What, in the league, you mean?
Yeah, just
Or when?
generally.
Well,
Generally.
Newcastle away.
Or Newcastle.
Yeah, it was only a few weeks ago.
Before that. Oh, yeah, that's true. Before that.
Well, the last win away in the league was April 2022 against the Scarlets.
Right. So we've won 2 away games in the last 2.5 years. And now we're going to go to play at altitude in one of the hardest places to play rugby in the world with the hope of getting a bonus point win. No,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Oh, the narrative is funny. Oh, it comes down to this. It's a shootout. The old Dragons still have a chance. I mean, I'm thinking, no, they're not. They're really not.
It comes down to a shootout where we've turned up with a spud gun and they have nuclear weapons. That's the shootout.
Lions got battered by Montpellier on the weekend. I can't remember the exact score. And I think it was like 28-5, is it something like that? But the Lions sent an understrength squad.
Yeah.
So they will play their full strength team because they're playing for a knockout place and they're at home. So they'll go fully loaded, I predict, the
Of course
Lions.
they will.
God knows what team we're going to pick
Oh.
because it just feels like Philo's tombola at the moment, doesn't it?
Whatever comes from the Ouija board.
Yeah, or the Ouija board is tombola, Ouija board, whatever you want to say.
Potato.
What's he going to pick for this game? Is he going to? Are we actually going to go as strong as we can, or is he just going to pick a
No.
load of kids?
I think he'll pick a pile of kids, but then I think he'll pick a pile of kids against Munster as well.
But I don't think that's right. I think we need to pick our strongest team.
Well, I think you should pick his strongest team.
Yeah. I don't think that's right to do that.
Or pick a team that can be competitive every time. So sometimes when you play weaker teams, you can pick a weaker side.
See, this was the problem with Jackman when he was coaching the Dragons. He picked far too many youngsters. We didn't have enough leadership, not enough experience, and they were getting hammered every week. It feels like Philo is doing this. You know, I'm all for youngsters getting the opportunity, and we have got talented youngsters. We really have. But it just feels like an over-reliance on kids at the moment. It just doesn't feel like we got enough leadership or experience. And I know we got injuries as well. Injuries have taken it all.
And they aren't developing. You don't develop in losing sides. Oh, it's character building. No, it's not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I hate losing. And I'm not.
You should be used to it, though. Dragon supporter, Southampton supporter. I mean, literally, the only one of your teams that's doing any good is Ebervale, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, even my club side isn't doing particularly well this season after winning the league last year. So, it's...
I've had a wretched time, mind, this season with my sporting teams. Cleveland Browns, NFL, bin fire. Dragons, obviously, struggling. Newport County again dragged into a relegation dogfight now, it looks like, as well. I've had very little joy. And it doesn't look like the Dragons are going to give me any joy.
I've got Vikings in the playoffs, but I think that might be the end of their journey.
Yeah. Yeah. At least the Steelers lost, though. I'm happy about that. I don't want to get into NFL chat too much, but I really don't like the Steelers being a Browns fan. So, yeah, go Ravens. Okay, so we're not confident or hopeful at all that the Dragons can pull off a win or a miracle in Johannesburg.
No, if they did, it would be all for the moon.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
It would be all for the moon if we beat them.
I'd happily eat my words. I would take a big fat bowl of humble pie with lashings of custard.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Make me eat my
honestly, if we win in Johannesburg, I will go on every social media saying I was massively wrong and I need to show more faith. But also, and people say to us, "Oh, you're very realistic as a podcast." we're realistic because we aren't going to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we could do." Yeah, we could do, but there's a difference between we could do and we could do.
It doesn't mean we don't back the players or we want them to do well. It's just we're being realistic and
Well,
honest
of course,
about where we are.
You've got to be realistic, haven't you? And rightly or wrongly, people listen to us for our opinions on rugby. So if we sit here and give unrealistic opinions, it disvalues the people who actually spend the time listening to us. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 'cause somebody said to me today, I listened to the pod, and you really are. We had good feedback about the last pod that we did, where we just ran riot and was just honest about it. When we had a good rant and a good moan. Someone on Twitter said, or X now as it's called, someone said it was one of the best pods we'd ever done. I won't go that far, but I just think people value honesty, and that's what we are in this pod. And we are passionate Dragon supporters. We are desperate for this team to do well, and it gives me no pleasure when we have to record pods like that, or the pods that we do now. I don't want to be talking about this week in, week out, but that's the way the team, the team are going.
But it's what we're handed.
Yeah.
We're a Dragons podcast. We talk about the Dragons. If they aren't winning, we can't sit here and spin gold out of, not gold.
Yeah, but we're always going to be talking about more losses than wins being a Dragon supporter. That's just the way it is. That's the team we are. But this season, I mean, last season was difficult as well, but there were moments of flashes, wasn't there? We could see we were heading in the right direction. This season just feels really grim. It feels like there's no hope. It feels
it's like a peddler with one pedal. No matter how hard you go, you're just going around in circles.
Well, I'm thinking of the Descent analogy that you used. I feel like I'm going to be eaten by flesh-eating monsters and I can't see the light. And when I do see the light, I wake up and it's a dream and I'm still stuck in the dark.
Have we ever seen that alternative ending?
She gets out, doesn't she? She does actually escape, doesn't she?
Yeah.
The alternative ending. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it on the DVD extra.
Yeah.
Because the view was it was too bleak for American audiences.
Ah, right, okay. Well, that don't surprise me. That don't surprise me at all. They like everything watered down, Americans, don't they?
But in the end, Neil Marshall said no.
Yeah, good on him. Good on him. Okay, I think that'll do for this week. Best of luck to the Dragons in South Africa. Like I said, we love to be proven wrong when we have, but we're not out of it yet. We're not out of it yet. Just to stress, the Dragons are still in Europe.
If we get a bonus point win in Johannesburg.
Yeah. Do we need a bonus point win or just a win?
Yeah, no, bonus point win apparently.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Well, there we are then. Makes the task even harder, doesn't it? Yeah, like I said, prove us wrong. It'd be amazing. Best of luck to them. But yeah, as things stand, we're still in it. But when we record next week, we probably won't be. We'll probably have a chat about Wales. The Six Nations squad is being released on Monday.
Oh, great!
So that'll be interesting. Are you in? Are you looking? You're not looking forward to Six Nations at all, then, Gav? It's my favourite time of the year.
Have you seen our fixtures?
I have. France first up, 31st. I'm
looking
looking forward to it. I know we're going to do poorly.
A friend of mine who will remain nameless, but works in professional sports, kind of in a technical role, was like, yeah, but I looked at the fixtures and I thought it could be a Grand Slam.
Yeah, right.
And then next message comes on WhatsApp about 10 seconds later, and then I realised it wasn't 2019.
Yeah. Can you imagine being a Dragons and Wales supporter right now?
I don't have to imagine it.
It's actually joyless, isn't it? Imagine being a Dragons and Wales supporter right now. Oh dear. On that note, I think we'll end it there. Gav, thank you for joining me as always. And a big thank you as well to Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the podcast. They're going to sponsor us again this season for another season, and it's great. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week, but until then, it's ta-ra for now. Ta-ra.
See you later.
That was the Dragon's Lair in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.